Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the court of the Edijester. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are, folks. How are you doing? I've got a very interesting one for you today. Now, before that, warrior teacher starting this May. So if you want to become a warrior teacher, please do let me know. Very slow this time, very slow getting people. So please do consider coming and joining us. We're doing some great stuff. Yeah, they are really doing some great stuff. Other than that, if you can subscribe and become a Jesterite, but like this video and share, that'll be important. It helps the algorithm and it helps me keep going. The Warrior Teacher Program is the only thing that does help me keep going, to be fair. This, and the Warrior Teacher Program. So if you can help out, please do. But nevertheless, what we have here today is from a law firm called Irwin Mitchell. And this is interesting for any of us who are involved in the worries and concerns around the teaching of trans and gender identity in schools. So it's worthwhile taking the time to read this, although it is a long read, I'll admit. It is time. So what they've done is they put together a very interesting piece called Cass Review, Implications for Schools and Colleges, that provides some guidance to those in the sector. So it's very well worth reading. Please do. It's in the Dubras. In April 2024, Dr. Hilary Cass published her final independent review of gender identity services for children. It concluded that there is no good evidence which considers the long-term outcome of interventions to manage gender-related distress in children and young adults. Dr. Cass made a number of recommendations based on the information currently available. We know it's going to get worse. The report focuses on medical treatments and its recommendations are directed at medical staff. So this is really sort of crystallising for us that Cass was about the medicals. We knew this, but this is important to understand if we're going to start extrapolating from Cass to other sectors, as I've already begun talking about. However, Dr. Cass recognises that the journey to transition doesn't begin at the front door of the NHS, but in the home, family and school environment. She went on to say that the impact of what happens in schools cannot be underestimated. Very important, she said, the impact of what happens in schools cannot be underestimated. And that schools and colleges need guidance that utilises some of the principles and evidence set out in the report. The question is then asked by Irwin Mitchell, what sections of this report relate to schools and colleges? The report looks at social transition, which is generally taken to mean social changes. Children may live as a different gender, alter their hair, clothing and use a new name and different pronouns. Dr. Cass makes clear that there are different views about the benefits and harms of social transition. Not here. Some argue that it improves the mental health of children experiencing gender-related distress. Others that it may make it more likely that a child's gender dysphoria, which may be resolved at puberty, has an altered trajectory, potentially culminating in lifelong medical intervention. I sit firmly in the latter camp of the explanation here from Irwin Mitchell. Read some Piaget, for God's sake. Dr. Cass says that in the UK and internationally it is now the norm for many children and young people to present to gender clinics having undergone full or partial transition. The evidence for and against social transition is the next title. This report states that there is no clear evidence that social transition in childhood has any positive or negative mental health outcomes, and relatively weak evidence for any effect in adolescence. However, those who have socially transitioned at an earlier age and or prior to being seen in the clinic were more likely to proceed to a medical pathway. Right, I'm struggling with that paragraph, and perhaps you can have a read and let me know in the comments. It's saying that there is no evidence that social transition in childhood has any positive or negative mental health outcomes, and relatively weak evidence for any effect in adolescence. However, those who socially transitioned at an earlier age were more likely to proceed to a medical pathway. Now, I'm a blowhard about this, you know that I am, right? Anything that is likely to push a child to a medical pathway on a belief system of something that doesn't exist. What? Have I got it wrong? Have a look for me. I think I might have it wrong. The available studies do not tell us whether earlier social transition was causative of the outcome. You don't think? Really? Do we need this? to know that if you raise a child to be cult-like, they'll end up in a cult? Oh, this stuff grinds my gears, but I might have it wrong. I might be blowharding about nothing. In the absence of clear evidence, the reports state that medical staff should help families to recognise normal development variations in gender roles, behaviour and expression, and they should avoid premature decisions and consider that partial rather than full transitioning can be a way of ensuring flexibility and keeping options open until the development trajectory becomes clearer. But it isn't, is it? It doesn't. It actually cements it. I know they're working within the medical and they're working within the law, right? But I'm working within morality and I'm working within what should be done. How should schools and colleges respond, they ask next. Dr. Cass recognises that schools have been grappling with how to respond when a pupil says they want to socially transition in school settings. She does not, however, include any specific recommendations directed at schools other than saying that policies should be in line with the evidence set out in her report. I'll let you read the rest. Please do, because it's really worth reading. I thank you very much to Erwin Mitchell for bringing this excellent piece of thought to the table. But I don't think it's as complicated as everybody's making it. They're making it far more complicated than it needs to be. The issue with the transitioning child, there is no trans child, is that you have a very distressed child, somebody who is unwell, and maybe unwell on multiple levels, dictating reality for the rest of the school. This can't happen. Ever. Ever. If that child is so unwell that they have disassociated themselves from their own body, they don't belong in school. They are unwell and they will affect the educational, social, psychological and intellectual outcomes of every other child in that school. Since when is this controversial? If your child is unwell, we will provide what is needed psychologically, but if they want to play dress up in order to feel better and expect everybody else to play along, they do not belong in school. The kids go to school to be educated. I mean, they absolutely shouldn't be anywhere near primary, but in secondary, when they start farting about on the internet and they get caught by the cult, that's when it's starting to happen. No, if that child says, I'm changing gender, it's okay, right, you need to go home and come back when you're well. There can be no circumstance in which other people are required to affirm the delusion of a child in an educational setting which is meritocratic and designed to sort us in what we're going to be good at, so that we can get the best doctors and surgeons, so that we can get the best builders of nuclear power stations. What the hell is going on? Right? Post-13, school is not some nicey inclusive place. It's designed to filter the kids so that we can find out what they're going to be good at. That's going to be a master baker. That's going to be a master plumber. That one's going to be doing philosophy. This one's going to be doing music. This one's going to be an artist. A school is not there to affirm the delusions of the mentally ill. The psychological process should have absolutely no impact on the school whatsoever. If the child is unwell, they go home. The same as if they had a broken leg, right? A prolapse or whatever it is wrong with the child. Until they are well. We do not allow a socially contagious belief system that is driven by psychological frailty and psychological problems to influence the lives of other children and the teachers in those schools. The schools are a filtration system. Stop fannying about. It is a red flag the size of Montana. And as soon as that child says, I'm going to change my gender, or I think I'm trans, we need it to be a safeguarding thing. Then in comes safeguarding. Who are they talking to? What are they doing online? What are they watching online? What are the parents playing at? Etc., etc. Safeguarding, you know? Most parents I know who've had this happen to them had no intention of affirming their child. It was the bloody school that did it. Thank you, Erwin Mitchell, for making me so damned angry. But the type of conversation we're having now, this type of information that's come from Erwin Mitchell, moves us forward. Moves us forward. And let's keep talking. Because the sooner we eradicate the concept of trans, the sooner we eradicate the concept of gender identity from the education system the sooner we can get back to finding the best people for the best job. Because right now, this is one huge distraction. When a few good, strong, safeguarding investigation with results would end it in one go. Let's keep going, folks. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.